I'd like to say good morning to my brothers and sisters out there. I woke up this morning to another one of those videos, and so we're gonna say like Paul said, it's not gonna be grievous for us to keep repeating the same thing. Like parents, they tell their children over and over and over again the same thing, the same thing, the same thing, until they get it. And sometimes the children don't get it until they get grown. That's how I look at it. I say, even now, and I'm 50 years old now, and I'm still just now getting some things that my parents had told me over and over again. Then you come to and you say, man, wow, now I see what mom and daddy was talking about. Now I see what my grandma, what my aunties and my uncles was talking about. I can see that now. Now that I'm grown and I've been kind of entered into the same position. So that's how I'm looking at these messages, because I want to state this again. When we look at the totality of our condition and the situations that we're dealing with, and we take from the prison to the killings to the court systems declaring people not guilty, to the protesting, to the awakening factor, to the street preaching camps, all of this thing is like one big ball that's affecting us as a people, and it's shaping what is going to become known as our future in the time of trouble. So if we can, just for a moment, we got to help our brothers and sisters start understanding what's really happening, and that the reason that it's happening is not simply because the Father just saw fit for it to happen. Everything that is happening at our own hand, and we are going to be the cause of our own demise, and we are the ones that are going to prolong our being in that condition. So I woke up to another video this morning, and brothers was out there on the street preaching, and once again, as I said, they was not dealing with the lost sheep of the house of Israel in the urban area. They somewhere downtown. And guess who they debating with or dealing with? Guess who they proclaiming judgment on and destruction on? And guess who they telling that they gonna have a chain around their neck and they gonna be their slaves? Guess who they telling that to? The police. The video was titled Israelites versus the Police. I mean, come on now. Does that make any sense? I don't know nobody that goes to war and then calls their enemy up and tells their enemy everything that they got that they're going to use against them. Well, this is happening right now when we look at North Korea. You understand what I'm saying? But the reality is that we know that the person that does that doesn't stand a chance. He will be annihilated, because you are provoking somebody that is mightier than you. Our brothers and sisters that are in the sports arena taking a knee, and our brothers and sisters that are out there in the streets protesting, they are completely oblivious as to what's happening on the other side. If they understood what these brothers was doing out here in the name of being an Israelite, then they would recognize why all of this stuff is happening. And then maybe, just maybe, they will come out and start protesting the right thing and start dealing with their own people. But the majority of them out there, they don't want to hear the scripture neither. They don't want to hear nothing. So the only thing that we can do is we can keep telling the children the ones that have not been tainted or contaminated with all of the falsehood. The message will be for you. We can keep telling you what not to do, what not to be a part of. There's a scripture, Isaiah 51:20. It's a prophetic scripture of the condition that the Father's people would be in the last days. He said, thy sons have fainted, and they lie at the head of every street. Like a wild bull taken in a net, they are full of the fury of Yah. Now, I used to think when I first came to the truth and start looking at the prophecies to identify who the people were, this was one of them. And I used to think that it was speaking of the brothers that was hanging on the street corner, drinking and, selling dope. And, I used to think that this is who it was talking about. But in this day, I've come to understand that it's not who it's talking about. When it's talking about your sons and daughters have fainted, they have literally lost conscience and all sight of the purpose to which they were created. And that was to be a light to all of the nations in the world, according to the promise that was made to Abraham. Abraham, in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And Abraham was the father of faith, and the promise would come, it would come to fruition for those that were outside of Abraham's seed by faith could come into the family. Henceforth, the nation of Israel was birthed into existence to become a kingdom of priests and a light to all the sons and daughters of Adam that would come by faith. The scripture says, thy sons have fainted. To faint is to lose consciousness. And when you lose consciousness, you have no sense of awareness of what's going on around you, period. You are just there. He said, your sons have fainted. And they lie at the head of every street. Okay, at the head of every street is called a corner. That's what it's called. It's a corner. And so, paraphrasing, he said, your sons and daughters have lost their minds. And they hanging out here on the street corners. And they are like wild bulls taken in a net. Because when you look at some of these camp brothers, they are completely off the chain and completely out of control. And if you take a bull and you throw a net over him and you try to drag him somewhere, he is going to be completely out of control. He ain't going to hear nothing. He not listening to nothing. And he will even do you bodily harm because he's out of control. Like a wild bull taken in a net. They are full of the fury of Yah. He said they are full. They are built up to the brim with hatred. And even though they're using the Bible, they've lost sight of their purpose. Because the Father makes it clear that he will do these things in his own time. He used the word of prophecy to prophesy judgment upon different people and his enemies, so that we can be encouraged enough to know that the things that we have suffered at the hands of people did not go unnoticed. That breeds perseverance. It helps you to persevere through your trouble when you know that what you're going through, people are aware of. And somebody is mindful of it, and that they're not going to get away with it. See, that's for our encouragement. It wasn't for we can go out there and then try to assume the responsibility for only what the Father can do. Now here you got a group of brothers out here talking crazy to the police. Hey man, listen, the police is the ones they got license to kill. The book of Proverbs say, look, don't make no strife with the one that has power to kill you. They got the power to kill. And it's a reason why we been, killed, and then they've been declared not guilty. Because as I said, When you got people out here doing these type of things, you understand what I'm saying? You know what? I'm telling you the honest to God truth. Sometimes people just saying, just give me a reason. Just give me a reason. All I need is a reason. I already want to do you in. So brothers and sisters, I'm going to tell you like the old prophets used to say back in the day. Gird up thy loins. Set your heart all right. Prepare your soul for temptation, and constantly endure, because it's some rough stuff about to come because of what these knuckleheads is out here doing. And you know what, our brothers and sisters, if they thought we was being killed and being declared not guilty, you know, we ain't seen nothing yet. See, we just now starting to see the first fruits of the reason why it's ramping up the way it is. It's ramping up the way it is because somebody is motivating people to do what they doing. And it's going to intensify. And so when the Father talking about Jacob's trouble was coming because Jacob will not get in line. And Jacob bringing the trouble upon his own self. Because how can you go out there and tell a man that got guns on his hips, got license to kill you, and go home and get a good night's rest, can kill you and then go sit down and eat a donut and don't think twice about it? How can you stand there in his face and tell him you're going to put a chain around his neck? He going to be your slave. You going to rape his women. They going to be, you understand what I'm saying? You can tell them that, but you don't have no idea that they had the power, because this is their kingdom. They had the power to do you bodily harm. And see, what you don't understand is that even though you might leave that corner and go home and go to sleep at night, those words that you put in their mind, they're not going anywhere. Because you don't want nobody calling, you don't want no white person coming up to you calling you a nigger. If somebody call a black man a nigger, the first thing he want to do is start swinging. You understand what I'm saying? Well, imagine how somebody else feel when you do them like that. They want to do the same thing, but only difference is that you gonna swing, they're gonna shoot, and you might go home and go to bed. It might be your son. It might be your son that meets that cop at the right time, when that cop is remembering all of the things you said you was gonna do to him and his family. It may be your son. You see, that's how the Father teaches us lessons. But I'm telling you, that's what the Bible said. The Bible said that's the condition that our people will be in. That's the condition that Jacob will be in. Our sons are fainting. They done lost consciousness. They lost sight of their purpose. They don't have no understanding. And they lying at the head. They're out here on these street corners. You understand what I'm saying? With the Bible in their hand. But they're like a wild bull taken in the net. They're completely out of control because they have no sense of direction. They have no spirit leading them. And they're just out there, full of hatred, full of fury. And they lashing that out on what had been called their enemies. But the Father never told you to deal with your enemies. He said he would deal with your enemies. The Father told you, brothers, to go and deal with your brothers. Go deal with the lost sheep. While y'all talking about what the police is doing, why you ain't worried about what your brothers is doing? Your brothers is you know what, just as wicked as anybody else. As a matter of fact, the brothers out here that have fainted on these street corners don't even have the capacity to do it. And I'm not saying all of them, because there are some brothers out there that genuinely do a good job trying to reach their people. Now, I'm not going to call no names, but I do know one brother out there. When it comes to other people, he always make it clear. He make it clear that, look, I didn't come to talk to you. I came to talk to my people. That's my only, so I'm not lumping everybody in the same category. But the people that I'm talking about, they know who they are. And then, you all should be able to discern what's right and what's true. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of a good report, think on these things. Not wake up angry and hateful and, God gonna destroy this, God gonna destroy. But you know what, you ain't thought twice about what the Father gonna do for you. So I wanted to put this on here this morning. To our brothers and sisters is out there trying to do righteous protests and stuff like that, we need to start doing a little bit better, trying to get them, maybe we've been using the wrong tactics. Maybe if we can start getting our brothers and sisters that's protesting, that's in Black Lives Matter and all that, maybe if we can get them to see what these camp dudes is doing out here on these corners, where these white people is concerned, maybe now this group can come to understand, hey, these jokers over here is the ones that's fueling and motivating these people to do this. So maybe they'll come over here and start protesting that nonsense. Y'all have a good day.